Yeah, so they don't call it the practice of law for nothing. And especially in a field like EB-5, that changes pretty often. I think that as professionals in the EB-5 space, we're constantly keeping track of what USCIS is doing in terms of policy changes, how the laws have changed. There's new case law that comes up, and we'll talk about some of that. But essentially you need an advocate on your side, an EB-5 immigration attorney who understands all of these things and knows how to apply them to your situation and to your case. So you might be in the middle of your source of funds process and a new case law comes out or a new case gets won against USCIS that kind of changes the interpretation of something that's applicable to your case. You want an attorney that's going to be able to apply that to your case immediately versus someone who doesn't even know that it happened. And then, even on a more micro level, a good attorney is really going to prevent what you might call careless mistakes on a lot of the EB-5 process. When you start getting into the forms, you start getting into the various different steps that it takes to file an EB-5 application. You'll note that there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different forms that all correlate to one another. Each form has a lot of different sections that have to be filled out accurately. And so the first and foremost thing is just working with an experienced EB-5 immigration attorney is going to it's going to prevent errors, right? Really, from like I mentioned, from the source of funds perspective, and on a broader sense, as you're going over your case and kind of strategizing how to best pool your funds together and make the investment, but also as you're preparing the actual application itself, an attorney who's experienced, who has seen different ways that people can mess up. I think one of the most important things to understand is that attorneys are people too. They're humans too. And we've all made mistakes in our careers as attorneys. Seeing those mistakes over time and knowing to prevent them is what makes you a really good attorney. Okay. No one's perfect all the way through. And so working with an experienced attorney who's seen those errors in the past, has seen those mistakes happen, whether by themselves or by other attorneys, can really help to prevent them happening in the future. Um, Another thing that I think is super important when you're talking to a client as an attorney and they're giving you their take of how they would like for their case to go, right? They're saying, "Hey, I've got the funds in XYZ account. Here's how I'd like to collect them. Here's my timeline. Here's what I'd like to do." A good attorney will kind of have a back and forth with them and say, "Look, this you may want to do it this way, but it's actually not going to work in the EB-5 context, or it may not be as good for you as maybe doing it a different way." And having an attorney who identifies that quickly and kind of nips it in the bud early on will allow you as a client to make better decisions moving forward. Essentially, now you know that there's something that's going on in your case that may not actually be best for you. You can then think, okay, well, what else should I be doing instead that might actually put me in a better position? So having someone with the experience to point out mistakes that are possibly coming up in the future or red flags that are coming with a particular source of funds in the future is really, really important because it just gives you more time to prepare to strategize correctly. And then finally, I think, even if you are a very experienced attorney, like I said, we're all human. You are going to make mistakes. It does happen from time to time. And sometimes it's not even a mistake. Sometimes it's USCIS making a mistake or the government just kind of completely overlooking something. And in those scenarios, again, you want an attorney who's going to advocate zealously on your behalf. You're going to want an attorney who's going to basically not only know how to fix the mistakes that have occurred or know how to deal with USCIS when they've made a mistake, but also will go after it and do it in a timely manner. I think a lot of the problem with EB-5 can be just longer processing times, longer kind of wait periods. That's only exacerbated by an attorney who isn't zealously advocating on your behalf and kind of pushing the government to give you the decision that you're looking for.